Friday afternoon.
Next stop, Sherry.
And I will be with you through 4 p.m. Happy Friday. We have made it to the end of yet another super busy week for so many different reasons, and we've lined up some pretty great conversations for you today. And of course, we're going to see what live events are also happening. We'll be able to take you there as they are happening, but let's go over what's planned for this first hour together. When I say that the week has been busy, yeah, some of that has been news events that have been happening, but also weather events that have been happening this week. Of course, we had an EF3 tornado that came through the state earlier this week, and while people are still trying to clean up from that, and in fact we got word yesterday of yet another death associated with that storm system. As damage assessments are happening there in Aroma Park, there was another person, so we're at 3 people now who have died as a result of those storms. Then we got this crazy wind overnight, and I'm talking about strong wind gusts, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And so we have all kinds of damage from that as well. Trees down, some power outages. We had a ground stoppage this morning at O'Hare. I mean, the wind was pretty wild first thing this morning. And so our own Tia Ewing, before we get out to the 2 o'clock hour, she is going to be giving us a little bit of lay of the land in terms of where she's going to see some of the wind damage from overnight and into this morning. We've also called on our very own Chris Kay from our sports department, so he can get us up to date on as we're going into a very critical weekend of basketball, Big Ten basketball, Selection Sunday, before we start March Madness next week. He's going to give us an update on where things stand as the Big Ten tournament has been going on right here in Chicago all week at the United Center, where things are, and now that we've come upon Friday, what we're looking at for the weekend, especially if you're going to be going out to the United Center this weekend to try to catch any of the games, and maybe how this sets us up, how many Big Ten teams or which Big Ten teams we can expect to see. Isn't it so crazy? I mean, we talk about the Big Ten, 18 teams, but that's a whole nother story. Which Big Ten teams we can see in the March Madness that will be moving forward. So there's a lot to talk about when it comes to basketball right now. We also anticipate a conversation in a minute now about tip credit elimination. So here in the city of Chicago, council members have actually been mulling over this, moving to possibly even freeze the phase out of the city's tip credit system. They say that the law has caused the restaurant industry to suffer. Obviously, we don't want to see that happen. Our restaurant owners, our restaurateurs have been through so much already coming out of COVID. Many of them still have not fully rebounded, and so we're going to talk with a research director at the Employment Policies Institute about that as well shortly here, as well as a conversation about a new phenomenon, if you will, when it comes to real estate. You know, we've heard for several years now about like catfishing online when it comes to maybe dating or things of that nature, where somebody posts a picture that's not really them, or it's kind of a very souped up version of them, if you will. But when you meet them in person, it's totally different. Or maybe you don't actually meet the person that you saw when you go to meet, the location that you're supposed to be meeting this person, catfishing. But in real estate, they have home fishing. And so given my description of catfishing, you can see where we're going when it comes to real estate here. We're actually going to talk to someone with a company that does a bit of this AI fixing up of properties, so that we can hear from their side of things as to how this could possibly be maybe a good thing. I've looked over some of the images myself. It is pretty interesting, so I'm looking forward to that conversation as well. Now, when it comes to live events, as we're waiting on our folks to join our Zoom setting here, let's take a look at a few of the things that we're monitoring right now. If I take you to, let's start in Atlanta, okay? This connecting to Atlanta. Let me say it's connecting to Atlanta. So that is Nathan Wade right there. If you're not familiar with his name, he became connected to the district attorney there, Fani Willis, through a case that was supposed to be one of the blockbuster cases against President Trump before his second term that never materialized. So now this former Fulton County special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, is testifying before the state Senate subcommittee investigating the allegations of misconduct that, of course, led to that case, the dissolution of that case, if you will. This investigation was really high profile. It was a racketeering case, essentially, against President Trump. He was originally supposed to testify last month and did not show up. He was scheduled to appear alongside his attorney, so he, as you can see, has at least made it. That is some progress today, that he has made it there to testify before this subcommittee here and to discuss his specific role at the office and the various contracts used by the DA's team. Again, just going back to the dissolution of that full case there, there was a lot of scrutiny on Fani Willis for this inappropriate relationship, if you will, between she and Nathan Wade, who was brought in as a special prosecutor, so paid by the state as a special prosecutor, but they also had a romantic relationship for a time. So it's been a long road to testimony because this goes way back, okay? But now they're at least finally moving forward in some part here. There's been so much connected to Fulton County. So this is just the latest piece of the puzzle there in Fulton County with this controversy between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. We'll see if anything comes from the testimony that happens here. And I'm not even sure what could come from it at this point in time, but that's where we are with things. Let's go to another courtroom. This is going to take us to Salt Lake City, where the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk on a Utah campus is supposed to be in court. I mean, this is kind of an odd picture here, but he's supposed to be in court today for a judge to weigh whether certain documents and proceedings should be open to the public and to the media. So we'll be monitoring that as well when that case kind of gets going in that courthouse. We'll see if we can take more or a better picture, if you will, once that gets going. But our first guest is here on the line, Subhav Gautam, the founder of Property Pixel, so that we can talk a little bit about house fishing and we can learn all together here. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what your company does.
Right. So Property Pixel is an app that anyone can access online. It's basically used to enhance real estate images, and that can mean a variety of things. It can mean decluttering rooms to make them nice and tidy for listings when you put them online. It could also mean something called virtual staging, is when you stage a house from a virtual sense. Normally, companies will add furniture physically into houses to make rooms feel full, and so that potential buyers can look at those rooms as if they were going to live in them. And virtual staging is another example of how you can apply AI for enhancements. And that's what Property Pixel does. We are just an app that lets you enhance listings in order to potentially get more buyers to come through the door of your listings.
Tell me how you, or what the process was to say, oh, I think I can use what I've learned in this way.
Right. So as you know, AI has really revolutionized a bunch of different industries. And I thought in our own use case, me and my wife have been looking for a place to buy a little apartment. And when we were looking at an apartment to buy, we realized that the listings were very hit and miss. We looked at some listings online and it would be, some would be average, some would be pretty bad in terms of standards of photos, in terms of the state of the apartments. So we thought there was a gap in the market there in terms of what we would want to tackle. And we thought, why not use AI capabilities to enhance these images so that real estate people whether they be agents or brokerages or property managers, they could get more people through the door by showing the apartment in its true state with the best sort of lighting, with the most kind of clean states possible. So that's really the idea and where that stemmed from.
Yeah, I mean, for years, generations, realtors have maybe enlisted the help of a photographer to get the best pictures at the best angles to make properties look as best as possible to make them marketable. AI kind of takes it up a notch, right?
Sure, AI takes it up a notch, and it's really up to the user how we apply these tools, right? And it always has been. We've had tools like Photoshop for the last 20 years, and people can absolutely change how a room and the structure of a house looks using Photoshop. AI has certainly made that more frictionless of a process, but it's really up to the user of the tool how they choose to use it. We are just basically providing the agents with a very easy way to enhance their images online so that they can get people through the door and hopefully make more sales that way.
And so, what I'm hearing from you is we're the vehicle. We're not really liable for how an agent ends up using this if they go too far.
That's a fair point. I would say to that that the owner of such tools, for example, in this case, us, we also have a responsibility and we have boundaries in place to make sure that people cannot just change how rooms or properties look. And that's really up to two people then in terms of the parties that play are the owners of the tool, and we choose what sort of tools we allow and expose to users to use. And then the users that actually consume the application have a responsibility to make sure that they're doing honest work and not misleading people in certain ways. But as I mentioned, these tools to mislead people or not mislead people have been around for a long time. It's really about doing honest work. I think that's really what it's about. And I think we've gotten to the point where AI has reached this level where it's not really going to be stopped. We have to learn to leverage it and leverage it safely and put the right guardrails in place so that we don't end up in situations, as you described, where people are home fished, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying, and I can also see where people might think like, wait, when I saw this online, this front yard was green with lush grass, and we pulled up and there's not a speck of green in the actual lawn. That's going to be an expense on me, and to find some good landscapers to do what I saw in the picture, what I thought before we pulled up. So maybe this agent has wasted my time bringing me to this place if I don't have the energy to do that type of thing. So what are the guardrails that you have in place? I mean, how far can someone take this?
Yeah. So with AI, I know a lot of people talk about AI hallucinating and doing things that are off the rails of what was expected from the prompt that was at play. But with AI and the technologies we have now, there are guardrails we can put in place to make sure AI can do things at a sensible degree to what we ask. So with the example that you gave with patchy grass, which ends up looking very lush and green in photos, we can make sure that that's not entirely like exaggerated and look completely different to the pictures with guardrails that we have in place in the technical sense. And that's really what it's about. And as I mentioned before, the creators of these tools are responsible to make sure that it can be used with these guardrails in place and people don't have this free reign to do what they wish with the tool. But again, it's really down to the individual too. If they are not using the tool that we provide, they could very well go ahead and go on another tool, let's say Google's Gemini, and do the exact same thing. They can create an image with AI and enhance it how they wish. So it's really down to how ethically you want to play the game of being in real estate or whichever industry you're in.
So what are maybe some of the most far out things that you've seen? Maybe not that your company does, but some of the most far out things that you've seen. Since you have, kind of thrown out there, yeah, I mean, they don't use your company, they use another one. They could easily manipulate it even more. What are some of the things you've seen?
That's a great question. We've done a lot of customer research and some online discussions with real estate agents about what sort of enhancements are going too far. And what we found in our research is that when we showed before and after photos, in some cases, real estate agents think that when structural things of a room change, then that's really going too far because you're basically changing the layout of a room. For example, you might have a wall in place that's completely gone in the enhancement, which is not obviously when people come to visit the property, they're going to be very surprised at that, and it's going to be something that's probably going to make them feel like they're being home fished or misled. And structural changes definitely a no-no. I've seen other apps that are not Property Pixel doing something like this, and I think that that's going a line too far. And I think that what's going to happen with those sorts of tools is they're inevitably going to fail because people are going to stop using them because they're going to realize that actually I might get more people through the door the first time, but after a while, they're not going to come to me again to return and see more houses because I've misled them once. So it's really maybe a one-time play. You might get the one customer by home fishing them, but you're not going to do that for the long term.
Really good point there. Thank you so much for the time today. I know we're on a huge time difference from where you are right now, but we appreciate you talking to us a little bit about it so that we can see kind of both sides of the argument.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Absolutely. Take care. It is 1:16 right now, everyone. It is very interesting to see. Again, I think we say this every day at this point in time, all of the different uses of AI and which companies do put in some guardrails and maybe which ones don't, and how far things can get taken versus how maybe we can reel things in a bit, even though it's already out there right now. And again, that's not just for the real estate industry. It really is for every industry at this point in time. Let's take a 2-minute break and we'll be back with our next conversation. I'm hoping to get in a conversation about that tip credit elimination next. All right, it's just about 1:20 right now, and we've talked so much about things that the restaurant industry has been through, especially coming out of COVID, how they have tried to recover. Oftentimes, we've spoken with the president for the Illinois Restaurant Association, and he's talked about many of the things that business owners are going through on a regular basis. And so we're kind of furthering that discussion now, but from a different side of things. I have the research director at the Employment Policies Institute with me right now, Rebecca Paxton. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Tell me a little bit about this effort to freeze the phase out of the city's tip credit.
Yeah, so the one fair wage law in the city of Chicago went into effect in July 2024. So we're coming up on almost 2 years of this law being in effect. And so there is some consternation that this law has hurt restaurants, hurt employees in the city, so much so that now some of the members of the city council have said we need to pause before we get to a full tip credit elimination because we don't want the fallout to get worse.
Explain the one fair wage law as you understand it.
Yeah, so right now the city council is stepping up the minimum wage rate for tipped servers and bartenders in Chicago. So it's going up every year. And in a couple of years, it's going to be the same as the overall minimum wage rate in Chicago, which essentially means that restaurant employers cannot count tips towards the minimum wage. And often that system has helped tipped workers make more than the minimum wage because tips generally don't just bring them to the minimum wage rate, they often make way more than that. And so the concern about changing this system is that it's going to force restaurants very quickly to have to raise their prices. That may depress customer turnout. They may have to lay off staff. They may have to close altogether, which would take away restaurant jobs. So the concern is that this law is not actually helping workers.
So the idea was to actually help workers with this one fair wage law to maybe level the playing field for them to say, okay, well, maybe one person is able to, make more than the minimum wage, but everyone on staff should be able to make whatever the new minimum wage is. And so to make sure that everyone hit that bar, this was instituted, but actually now the restaurant owners would have more of a problem making sure that everyone hits that new bar. Is that correct?
Yeah, so essentially federal and state law actually requires that those who are earning regular tips, they have to make that full minimum wage rate. So there is nowhere that says tipped workers right now can earn less than the full minimum wage.
Right.
The difference is that in restaurants, that tip money can go towards that minimum wage hourly rate. However, if any worker is not making that wage through their tips, the employer is by law supposed to top them up. And there's certainly instances where, there are bad actors. Employees may on occasion be not making that full minimum wage rate with their tips included. However, if restaurants are not doing what they're legally obligated to do, raising that effective minimum wage is not going to stop bad actors from evading it, right? So the concern is that this would drastically increase the wage mandates for restaurants overnight, and also potentially lower the number of jobs, lower tip earnings for employees, and potentially drive away customers.
And we're not the first to revisit this tip credit elimination, right?
That's right. Actually, the District of Columbia tried this law recently. They implemented it around May 2023, so a little bit before Chicago. And they got a couple of years into the law and realized the DC restaurant industry lost 5% of its full service restaurant and bar jobs. Employees were making fewer tips. They actually, on average, were losing money than from before the law was implemented. Tips were going down, overall earnings were going down, and restaurants were closing at a rate not seen since the pandemic under the tip credit elimination law. So the city actually voted to undo that full tip credit elimination, which may be prompting Chicago city lawmakers to say, hey, we don't want to end up like DC.
Mm-hmm. Do we already have some numbers of how this has affected business thus far? Like, we're headed in the same direction. We don't want to get to that level. Let's do something now.
Yeah, so the early data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that Chicago's full service restaurant and bar industry has sort of halted in terms of job growth, which is not a good sign. That's usually what happens before things start to go south and negative, and people start losing jobs on net. And also, my organization took a look at new restaurant licenses and restaurant business renewals, and we found that the rate of issuances and renewals in the city of Chicago has also started to slow down. And so the early data is suggesting Chicago may just be a little bit behind, but on the path towards where DC was going.
Okay, so when we say there are city council members who are making this move to try to freeze this, how many? Is it a growing number? Is it a few? And so maybe it may be a vocal minority, or do we feel like there's some momentum to actually make this happen?
You know, I'm not 100% sure what's going on behind the scenes. I know there were at least a handful of workers who are behind this policy. But what I will say is that this was initially brought up, I believe, starting last year by a different sponsor. And now another alderman has stepped up to say, we actually want to revisit that policy. So this is an ongoing conversation that I think more and more folks are starting to see early signs of decline and at least wanting to start the conversation in the city council.
Do we know why it didn't go anywhere last year?
I'm not 100% sure I can comment on that, but you know, there's a lot of issues before the Chicago City Council, but I know that this is an important one to a lot of folks in Chicago, and so encouraged to see some other lawmakers jump on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see if there is maybe a growing group of lawmakers who kind of join, especially as you see what's going on in DC, if this becomes a priority, you know, for them to halt it before things get any worse, or quite honestly, you know, how they view it. If it's not a priority, why don't they feel it's a priority? And maybe, you know, two people can look at the same statistics and see them quite differently. So I would wonder what their view is on what they're seeing if they choose not to act on this year.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing I'll say is we've seen cities and states look at policies like this and try policies like this. And it's certainly not a partisan issue. There are people on both sides of the aisle, different political parties who have looked at the data in different places and have come to the same conclusion. So this is overwhelmingly, you know, this is not just one side trying to push something. This is something that is coming organically from workers, organically from local restaurants, and folks on both sides of the aisle have increasingly been bringing attention to these issues across the country.
Yeah, well, you know, as I said in my intro, and I'll say again, these restaurant owners have definitely been through a lot since the pandemic, for sure. So when they sound an alarm, you know, at least it should get everyone's attention. And how it goes from there, obviously, there's a lot of different factors as to what happens. But when they sound an alarm as to an issue, we can see all around us. I mean, I'm right in front of a window where there was a restaurant, you know, just feet away from our building that's no longer there. So we've seen the issues that these restaurant workers, the restaurant owners especially, have been through over the last several years. Want to keep them around, but it'll be very interesting to see how this proceeds. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a good weekend. All right, everyone, it's just about 1:30, and we are minutes away, hopefully, from our first conversation. Won't be the last conversation, I'll tell you that, about basketball as we get ready for March Madness in just a few days. Give us 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. 1:31. Let's talk a little sports, shall we? Getting ready for some big games this weekend at the United Center, and of course, many more to come over the rest of the month. So, Chris Kay from Fox Chicago Sports joining me now so that we can get up to date on where we are and where we're going from here. Where are you, sir?
I'm currently in the top of the United Center. The first game of the day was Ohio State, Michigan. That just ended. Michigan's moving on to the semifinals, but now we're preparing for Illinois, Wisconsin. That's coming up here in just a few minutes.
Aha, okay. Well, we certainly appreciate you taking out a few minutes in between. So Michigan is actually one of the favorites going into March Madness, right?
Oh, my goodness. I was having this conversation earlier today with someone. I don't think Michigan is just the favorite for the Big Ten tournament. I think they're the favorite just period. I think this is the best Big Ten team we've seen to come out of this league in a long time, maybe ever. I know they're so talented. They're so talented from top to bottom. They're so versatile. Their front court, I think, is the best in the nation, and their back court boasts its physicality in the matchup too. It's so hard to beat them. Just like today, they didn't score, I think, in the last 5 minutes of the game or something like that. But they were able to hold Ohio State scoreless for the last 5 minutes too. They didn't have a field goal. It was crazy. And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking, if you're waiting for this Wolverines team to beat themselves, it's not going to happen. And I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow as they get the winner of this Illinois-Wisconsin game that happens here in just a few minutes.
Okay, so University of Illinois is a 4 seed. University of Wisconsin is a 5 seed. I always find those matchups to be super difficult to figure out which one's going to walk away with the win.
I agree with you there. It's tough, but I think Illinois has a little bit of chip on their shoulder today, especially after they lost to Wisconsin earlier in the season. Keaton Wadley dropped like 34 points. He looked fantastic in that game, but they just weren't able to smooth it. I think today they're coming back healthier. They're coming back a little bit more well rested. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do, especially guard-wise, because we've seen this team kind of fall or a little bit lackadaisical defensively in second halves. We saw that when they played Wisconsin last week too. I think they're keeping that in mind, and I think this Illinois team has the talent to win the Big Ten tournament for sure. But they just need to put it all together against a league that's extremely late. They're very much more experienced in this Illinois team, which has a lot of really good talented players, but they're underclassmen and they're freshmen, so they're still learning as they go.
Yeah, that sometimes just having been there before can weigh a little heavier than just raw talent. Sometimes. I mean, because at least you know kind of how to move and how to conserve your energy, when to press, and all of those things, when to leave it all out on the floor. Sometimes that can be a big factor that can lead to where we stand in the end. Okay, so Selection Sunday will be here before we know it. And are you thinking we're going to get some Cinderella stories this year? Are you thinking that we're just going to see NIL kind of win out to what we see in the end?
It's a really good question. I was having this conversation too a couple days ago. It's tough in this era when NIL can dictate so much. I think in the first couple of rounds, we're going to see a lot of blowouts. We're going to see a lot of the haves separate themselves from the have-nots. And that was the case last year in the tournament. But I think as the tournament drives up, start to see some of these older teams face up against these other older teams. Like, for example, this Michigan team that we saw play today is eventually going to play another team that's also got transfers and players that are players really good at basketball. And when those games happen, it's like, who wins this unstoppable force or the immovable object? They're so evenly matched. They're so well matched. And it's just so much fun to watch. I think we have the potential for some Cinderella teams. The one I'm watching is where the committee is going to slate Miami and Ohio, because they came into their conference tournament and defeated 31-0, but they lost to Massachusetts in the first round. The biggest conversation is, do you take that mid-major and leave them in somewhere in the field of 68, or do you maybe give it to a team like Auburn, which maybe has some better wins on record, but they're sitting there at like 17 and 16, maybe a little bit closer. They have a lot more losses on their record too. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. My dream matchup would be Auburn against Ohio. I think we've done that around the basketball universe. I hope it happens, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the committee has in store. Because we know they have an eye on some stuff. They know what kind of matchups they can put together, especially in the later rounds.
Oh, this is getting very interesting, as it always does, as we get into March Madness. So, what goes through your mind this time of year? I mean, it's exciting for those of us who don't work in sports departments, but you're going a mile a minute trying to track it all down. So, what's going through your mind?
It's just going to be my final four. I'm thinking about the teams I've watched all year, and I'm lucky enough to have a front seat here in Fox, to have a front seat in some of these teams, and having a chance to see a team like Nebraska, which is going to play a little bit later with Fred Hoiberg, to see Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans, who are going to play later tonight too. There are so many talented teams in the Big Ten that I haven't got a chance to watch this year. I think it's the best conference in the world at this moment. But I'm also interested to see how some other conferences might stand apart. Like, for example, Kentucky, so some of those SEC teams that maybe are in that mid-range there, they've got talent too. They've got talent on those rosters, and they've got different skill sets that you usually don't see in the Big Ten. Sometimes a little bit more physical, a little bit more better shooting. But I think in this specific instance, the one thing they keep throwing through your mind is, man, I wonder who's going to play in my Final Four, because it's harder than ever to pick those last four. I know last year I got into like Sweet 16 before my Final Four got busted. I'm hoping to go a little bit further this year. The last time I picked a champion, I think, was in 2012 when I was a senior in high school. So I'm looking to, kind of get back on track that way too.
We look to get back on track every year until you're out somewhere and everybody's like, ah. When those brackets get busted yet again. It is such a fun time of year. Okay, so walk us through one more time the games for today and leading into the weekend for Big Ten.
Yeah, so later today, I said later today, as in like the next 10, 15 minutes, we're going to get Illinois and Wisconsin. They're going to play a little bit. They're going to rematch there, but also I think we're going to get Nebraska is going to play Purdue. They're going to have a rematch there. But then the last game of the day is UCLA, the Cronus team against Michigan State. I'm looking forward to that one. It's a very experienced Michigan State team coming up against UCLA team that is kind of funky. They've got a lot to prove. They didn't prove that much in the regular season, but they've got the talent. They've got the team to do it. So it's at this point, most teams that you're going to see this weekend, especially today, are going to make the tournament. But I'd like to think that these games can represent an opportunity for them to bump up themselves. Like, for example, Nebraska. That's a team that's kind of on the 3-4 line. I think they're sitting at a 3 seed in the tournament on the projections. That they go far and go to the championship game on Sunday and win it. They might vault themselves into a 2 seed. And I think it's important. It's impressive to think of what they could do. And the same goes for U of I. And Illinois has kind of been sitting there in the 3-4 seed, and they've been sitting at their 2 seed for a while. I think just outside of the 1. If they can go run the table, win the championship, they're back to the 1 seed conversation.
Yeah, and even though we're talking about teams overall, are there any specific players that you think the NBA is looking at right now, like, yeah, this person probably is coming out number 1, or this person is, we've got our eye on this person? Like, are there any, like, prodigies right now?
There are, but they're not in the Big Ten conference, believe it or not. Those players reside usually in the Big 12 and the ACC, like Darren Peterson in Kansas. I think it's a player that fits really well with the Bulls, ironically. But there's also Cameron Boozer, who's the son of Carlos Boozer, a former Bull. There's a lot of Bulls connections here that's happening. I'm just referencing that now. But Cameron Boozer is a fantastic player. I think he's going to go number 1 overall, but he plays for Duke, and they're all in the ACC. But tonight, I think a player to keep an eye on is Keaton Wagner, which is a guy that Illinois has had. He's just burst onto the scene. He's a high-octane scoring player. He can really fill the stat sheet with points. I think the biggest thing is, how does he fit on points? Can he get better defensively? He's so athletic, he's so quick. But if he can find a way to utilize that defensively this weekend, he's going to really help his draft stock. But the scoring is going to be there. We've seen this guy light up in 30, 40 points this year. I think he dropped 46 and went over Purdue, which is incredible considering how good Purdue is defensively. So I'm really interested to see what he can do, especially starting today, where, like I said, they get a little bone to pick with Wisconsin. They want to get a little bit of revenge of the team that got them last year, or last month.
Yeah, I mean, big players step up in the big moments, and so I think that's always exciting to see. Obviously, basketball's a team sport; you need the team, but I love following the stories of the individuals as well, and even to see like, okay, like we watch them in these moments. Last year, all the buzz was about like Cooper Flagg, and to see him come out so early from his time in the NCAA. And then you're like, okay, is that going to translate into the NBA? I love watching those stories over time. And I remember there was a young man from in Illini player last year, and you were kind of wondering, okay, is he going to come out right now? Is he going to stay in? What's that going to do to the team? All of those things. There's so many storylines.
There are so many storylines, but I think it's so interesting when you consider a guy like Steve Wagler, who, if he could go to the NBA, he'd be a lottery pick this year. But I just think about how great he'd be if he stayed another year and he got bigger, he got faster. Just think about this guy in this year where there's some college players that stay for 4 years and they get big and strong and they get so fast and they really improve their draft stock that way. He could stay another year, do exactly that, and then be a number 1 overall pick maybe next year, kind of being in that conversation. And this is talking about Keaton Wagler, but his last year, Casper Jackonis was one of those guys. Will Riley was one of those guys too with Illinois.
Yes, it was Riley. That's the one.
Yeah, the guy from Canada. It was a will he won't he kind of thing. I think it's really interesting to see what the conversations are with Will. Will even coming around because he could. I think if he stayed, Illinois would be better off for it.
All right. Well, all eyes will be on what happens tonight and then moving forward. It is a fun time of year. Thank you so much. I know we're going to be hearing more from you in the days to come.
I always look forward to this. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Enjoy it all. Front row seat as it's all taking place. So it's not probably as much fun for him as it is for us. A lot of work for our sports team. All right, everybody. It's just about 1:45. So give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back at 1:45, and as we were saying earlier, the weather has been all over the place this week. We had some warm temperatures. We had incredibly strong storms out there, an EF3 tornado that ripped through parts of Indiana and southern Illinois, and we're still getting in more information about that. The temperatures dropped and the wind itself picked back up in an incredible way. So let's go out to our own Tia Ewing, who is giving us an update on some of the wind damage today. This has nothing to do with tornado. This is just wind damage.
Yeah, this is just wind damage, and it's pretty windy out here, Anita, so I do want to point out the fact that at times it may sound like Mother Nature is taking over this live shot and talking through this microphone, but we are on the ground here in Niles, Illinois right now, and it was so bad at one point. I want to step out of the way so you can really see the damage that was done here. This is Walsh Academy, and I was told by residents here that this is also considered to be a vocational high school for students that have special needs, and you can see part of that roof slid right on off during what was really gusty winds. I'm told winds of about 60 miles per hour were coming through the area at the time that this happened. We do know there is a high wind warning right now in effect until 4 o'clock this afternoon. But this is the cleanup that is underway. You can see people on the rooftop there trying to assess the damage done. The good news here, we know no one was hurt in terms of students or even staff. But as of right now, they're trying to assess how much damage was done. And in fact, we don't know if school will resume on Monday. We do know, obviously, classes are canceled for the rest of the day. But I can tell you, just getting here to Niles from our station right there in downtown Chicago, a photographer behind the camera, Jacob, had to really hold on to that steering wheel. That wind was just picking up the SUV as we were driving. And we heard from some people here on the ground that that was the exact situation that they were in. This wind is really, really bad. And in fact, I ran into a tree service that was driving past us when we were talking to some folks out here, and they told us that they are really doing some work today because there are a lot of trees down in this area and other parts of this community as well. So this is what we're seeing. Garbage cans flipped on their sides, trees literally uprooted, some completely knocked over, siding on some of the homes has been ripped off as well. So it's windy. I mean, I don't know how to sum it up any better than to show you this roof. I mean, that shows you just how windy it is. But yeah, and then we talked to some people that said, they shrugged it off. They said, Chicago is known to be the windy city. So you expect wind. I just don't think we expect, damages of this kind. I was also talking to somebody earlier. They were telling me in terms of flights, they had a friend that was landing. The airplane was in the process of making that landing at O'Hare, and all of a sudden the plane had to go back up because it was just so much wind, extremely windy conditions. So this is something that we're seeing today. It almost seems like we've had, you said it, every single weather pattern possible, at least on the bad end of things, we've seen in the last few days. And so this is what we're seeing on the ground here in Niles, just very windy. This is probably the worst of what we've seen, but yeah, not ideal conditions, to say the very least.
Yeah, and I mean, how are they even going to get that out of there? What kind of equipment do they have?
I'll show you. So they have some backhoes on the ground here. It appears that they're going to try to break this up in some way. They also have, maybe from this vantage point, you can't see it as well, but there is like a truck that has like a dumpster on the back. So they're going to make sure that that debris gets loaded up. And there's also an actual dumpster on the ground as well. So they're going to load up this mangled metal. I also heard from a guy that told me that this happened in this area, literally on this same building 50 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That something similar happened with the roof. He'll break that down. We'll have that tonight on the news at 4 and 5, but he'll break down, what happened 50 years ago. He kind of walks us through, what the weather situation was like then. But then I talked to somebody that told me that this work may have been done recently, a more recent job, and made kind of a joke of it, knowing that no one was injured, said, maybe the good news here is that they have a warranty on the work that was done.
Well.
We could only hope so. But in terms of the cleanup, yeah, they have some equipment on the ground. We've seen some other equipment starting to move in, some of which we're kind of at a disadvantage only by location of where we're actually at on the ground to be able to show you, but they have some equipment out here that they're going to use to hopefully get that out of the way. And, you know, I feel like it's a good sign, at least when you see people on the roof. That means structurally the building is sound, because normally they don't send people up on a roof in any situation where there's a situation where the roof could potentially cave in. So I know, you know, we see that mangled metal. It looks horrible. It's very clear that there is some serious damage, but at least it looks like it's nothing that would cause, you know, even the crews that are out here working to fear for their lives. So I think it's very possible that they'll be working to probably get this restored over the course of the weekend. The school did post on Facebook that, you know, they will keep everyone updated with what happens next. So will this school reopen on Monday? Maybe not, but their Facebook page will give us all those answers.
Mm-hmm. And as you're looking around, I think one of the interesting things about tornado,
we'll show you. Go to this tree.
Tornado damage versus others,
Yeah.
like, you know, tornado damage, you see it like for all around. You'll see stuff all
Yeah.
over the place. But with wind damage, I mean, is it just that one place that you can see right now that has that horrible damage, and then everything else around is okay?
Yeah, so we're going to give you kind of like a panoramic view here. We're going to just swing our camera around so you can kind of see the lay of the land. We do have some other TV stations out here, so we're not trying to give them a commercial. But I do want to show you that everything is, you know, just, you know, normal. It's not like anything is out of the ordinary, at least in this area. But it does seem, based on, you know, we've been out here for a little while now. We've talked to people in other parts of this same community. It does seem like for some reason this particular area that we're standing in is a little more windy than other parts of this exact same zip code. So it's very interesting. And so I was saying, well, maybe we're like directly in the line of winds where we are right now, because a couple of blocks over we were talking to some folks and it was not nearly as windy. You didn't have to like ground yourself and steady yourself. So it is a huge difference, like for some reason in this particular spot versus others. But in terms of seeing any other damage around us, you know, a few tree limbs here and there, but nothing that would make you stop in your tracks, slow down your car, stop walking the dog to see what's going on. No, we're not seeing anything outside of, you know, what we're seeing behind us that would equate to something like that.
Okay, and we know that this weekend we're expecting snow. That'll cap off all the other things that we have seen over the last
Yeah.
several days. But other than that, I mean, it looks like a bright, sunny day around you.
Yeah, like I said, one of the residents here said, you know, this is the Windy City. He actually described it as a beautiful day. I was like, well, maybe it's beautiful for you, but go a few blocks over. The folks here at Walsh Academy wouldn't probably say the same thing. But yeah, overall, you know, it is just, you know, a typical Chicago windy day for most of us. Obviously not the case for what's behind us, but the good news again here, no one was seriously injured.
Yeah.
So at least we can smile and breathe easy because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Tia, okay, thank you so much. We will see. I'm really looking forward to that conversation that you had with the man who had the perspective of what happened there 50 years ago. Yeah, that'll be very interesting coming up later on this evening. Thank you. Everybody, it's 1:53 right now, and we've been through everything this week, it feels like. I mean, clearly it's not the worst it could be. You know, every time we talk about different situations, Mike Kaplan and I have had several conversations over the last several days. I mean, we did lose lives this week. So you never want to see that. But at the same time, because of all of the warnings and the advanced alerts that our meteorologists have had this week to let us know about a lot of the different things that could happen or would happen, it hasn't been as bad as it could have been, even though we never like to see a loss of life. But yeah, we just have been through so many different scenarios all in 1 week. And that is, you know, that is Illinois, that is Chicago, where we can see so many different things so quickly. So yes, I gave you a preview. We'll talk about that much later. I think Mark Strahl is going to be coming up to speak with me around 3:30 or so about, snow that's on its way. We just keep getting dealt more things that don't feel much like spring, but he'll talk about that around 3:30, everyone. Look at the cameras as we look live outside over the lake. They are just shaking, have been all day. 2800 camera. This one's over Lakeshore. I mean, yeah, these are high up, but as you could just see, even from the vantage point of Tia being on the ground, everything around her, those tree limbs and everything shaking there. So yes, this is high up, the 2800 camera, but even down on the ground, it is a very, very windy day in the area, and it has affected the flights in our area, and it has affected many other things as well. So we're hoping that we'll get more information about when the winds will kind of die down a little bit, but again, it is ushering in some other things for this area. You know, one of the other things, aside from the wind damage that we have had, we did get a release from ComEd that it says, you know, as they wanted people to know more about how they're preparing for this second round of storms. And this would be particularly across northern Illinois, the high winds and storms that are expected throughout the weekend here. They say after restoring more than 27,000 customers impacted by storms and the EF3 tornado on Tuesday, ComEd crews are working now to monitor and respond to outages resulting from the high winds that we were just talking about with Tia. The current forecast calls for the wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour and then thunderstorms and snow on Sunday. As of this morning, they had restored more than 55,000 customers from today's high winds alone, but clearly they still had more to do. They said damage from Tuesday's storm included the need to replace more than 250 wood poles, 20 miles of cable, and 30 transformers. That work resulted in 99% of impacted customers restored by yesterday, Thursday. But now again, we have another storm that's ahead of us, and so they say if a down power line is spotted, obviously you want to call ComEd. Do not assume that those are not live just because it's down. And we have seen lots of down power lines. We've seen even my producer saw some pictures of a down power pole or a light pole, you know, that was down in a particular area. Don't approach those things. Don't touch them. Don't have your children. You know, if they're out, let them know not to touch them as well. They say never approach a down power line. Always assume that a power line is energized and extremely dangerous. And in the event of an outage, do not approach ComEd crews, of course, because they're working to restore power. So don't, you know, bother them by asking about restoration times. Just call the number 1-800-955-8237. Again, that number is 1-800-955-8237. We've been through a lot, still have a little ways to go, everybody, before we get to some semblance of spring around here. But we're kind of in that tussle right now between spring and winter, still wanting to hang around. And so that's why we may see snow by next week. We'll talk about it more a little bit later on, but give us 2 minutes and I'll set you up for the 2 o'clock hour. Welcome back, everyone. 2:01 right now, and let me tell you a little bit about where we're going in this hour for Chicago Live. Around 2:45, we are going to have a discussion about what came as kind of a shock for many of us in the newsroom today, that Southwest Airlines is going to be discontinuing service in and out of O'Hare. Now, look, I think their primary location in our area is Midway, but still, any change like that is pretty major. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that big news and maybe what brought it on and how that impacts a lot of customers. Also, of course, this weekend, regardless of the weather, whatever the weather does, a lot of folks are going to be out celebrating St. Patrick's Day weekend, and there are so many things happening in the city. The parade, the river dyeing, plenty of parties. And so we're going to be talking with one of the groups that will be out on the river tomorrow for the river dyeing that will be happening. I believe that's 10 a.m. When the river goes green in our area for Streeterville. So we're going to talk with the general manager of the Freedom Boat Club. Looking forward to that discussion. Also, we're going to talk security, hopefully, during this hour because, listen, people are going to be out and about, and you can't stop living life just because of the things that we have seen over the past week, past 24 hours, and certainly not even going back further into some of the things that we have seen years ago. You have to keep living. You have to keep having joy and enjoying things that give you a timeout from the cares of the world. But at the same time, you still have to be cognizant of what is happening in the world and why you might need to move a little differently, or at least have your mind on not just having fun, but how you can stay secure in the midst of it all this weekend. Yes, we want you to take advantage of all the wonderful things happening, but we want everyone to come back on Monday and especially on Tuesday when it is actually St. Patrick's Day, and be able to talk about the fun that you had over the weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit about security. First and foremost, though, we're super excited that when we finally get to better weather outside, we're going to be able to get to outdoor concert season. And what does that mean? Sitting back at Ravinia, taking in some good music. Maybe you're out, with your picnic set up, or maybe you're in the new pavilion. I don't know. Plenty of options for you. And we have Eric Soderstrom, the artistic producer from Ravinia, joining me now with a nice green background to get us up to date on the new reveal of the lineup for this year. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on today.
So let's go over some of the big names for this year that I'm sure people will want to see.
Absolutely. It's a stellar lineup this summer, starting off with Billy Idol on our opening weekend, into Paul Simon the following weekend. Later in the summer, Kool and the Gang, Miranda Lambert, Alison Krauss, Brandi Carlile, Gladys Knight and Brian McKnight on a co-bill together. The stars just keep aligning for Ravinia this summer.
Oh boy, so many great things to go out and see. And you needed these big names at an important time. I mean, we're looking at 90 years.
90 years with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra consecutively. It's quite an honor to have them at the festival every summer. They're the crown jewel of our programming. And this year we're going to celebrate them with a brand new pavilion.
That's right. You all have been working on that pavilion for a while. And so what are some of the things about the pavilion that you think will really have people talking?
Yeah, first and foremost, cup holders. All the small details,
the
right?
really important things. It's the little things.
That's right. That's right. We all have to be able to sip our beverage at Ravinia in the summertime. But yes, new seating configuration, some VIP areas that are created now. These are all for the audience experience. And for the artist, we have new design, new stage design, new acoustics for the artist on stage, as well as audio and lighting. And all of the backstage amenities are brand new for the artist as well.
And you know what? I think that Ravinia is such a special place. You're right, for the artist and for those who love the art to experience all together. For those of you all who work there, what has it been like during this renovation season?
Well, it's exciting because something new is coming. It's been challenging because we've been moving around a lot from office to office as the construction crews have been in and out of here. But ultimately, we're getting ready for the summer, and that's what we spend the winter months doing, is preparing the park. The experience here is like no other, and that's what we really strive to repeat every year. So, fill up your picnic basket, grab a couple of friends, hop on the Metro, which stops at our front door, and come out and experience the famous Ravinia lawn, and also jump inside to capture the performance from inside the pavilion as well.
Sure, sure. And are there some other additions that you all have made other than the pavilion? Are there some other additions that you all have made that kind of switch things up or add to the experience this year for people?
We are always looking at things to do differently and new things. The restaurant experience, for those who don't want to carry their picnic basket to the festival, we have 3 different restaurants on site. So you can do anything easy from grab and go food to a lawn bar, all the way up to fine dining. So if you want to sit down and have a full meal, and not have to carry all of your items with you, we provide all of that on site.
And it's so wonderful. Yeah, I'm not one for bringing out the whole picnic basket, although I love to see the people that do, and I think the people that do put a lot of planning into it. I just hop in a line and order the food. So I think people truly get very creative with their picnics out there.
Absolutely. That's a tradition at Ravinia, the picnic contest, even, where one night out of the year we'll have a contest as to who has the most elaborate and beautiful picnic setup. And people get very creative, and we encourage it. So we allow you to bring just about anything to the festival. So, it's food, it's beverage, even your neighbors if you want to bring them along, and have a party on the Ravinia lawn.
Now, Eric, who are you most excited to see this year?
It's hard to say. I really love so many different artists and am very intimately involved in the programming, but there's 2 that come to mind. One is St. Vincent. She has rearranged her music for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
So she'll be performing with them in July. I'm super excited for that one. And then I'm a big fan of the Marley family. And Ziggy Marley is coming in September. I'm sure he'll play his hits as well as his dad's hits. And that's on a co-bill with a group called the Thievery Corporation, which is also very fun.
That's going to be a good night. As soon as we saw the list, we were all like, "Living La Vida Loca" with Ricky Martin on the list. We're ready. We're ready to shimmy, ready to give it a go.
That's right. That's right. I tried really hard to get Menudo. But I couldn't get all of them together. So the next best thing is Ricky Martin, right? Fresh off that Super Bowl performance with Bad Bunny. This is going to be a lot of fun, and been trying for a number of years to get Ricky here. So this will be a highlight of the summer for
Talk
sure.
a little bit more about the work that it takes to get the artists here. I mean, it's no small feat.
No, it takes a long time. And there are artists on my wish list that still have not made it to Ravinia, but it takes years sometimes to get an artist here. And, we have so many different genres of music. Piecing all of that together back to back for a season of programming can be challenging. We start often with the classical music first and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra's residency, putting that together, and then we build out from there the rest of the artist for the summer. But it's not only our schedule, but we're working with the artist schedules too and their routing. And so it can be very challenging sometimes to fit this puzzle together. But fortunately, Ravinia is a destination for both audience and artist, and so there's a lot of folks that want to come, and I just have to keep working through that list.
Okay, now who's at the top of the wish list?
Yeah, so there's a couple of them at the top there. Stevie Wonder is up there at
Ooh,
the
yeah.
top. Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam would love to see them here at some point in time. So I have some work to do still, but at the moment we're celebrating this summer season, and I'll get back to it for 2027 for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. We always wonder, like, can you top yourself
Yeah.
year after year because you pull such big names, and we always get excited about when the list comes out to see who's on there. It's like, can you continue to top yourself? There's plenty of artists to bring in. I know at one point in time in the renovations, you all actually did an auction for some of the things that were there, and a lot of items had such historical significance. What were some of the things that you saw go on in the auction that you said, like, wow, that this is a moment to see that go to someone?
Yeah, there's a couple of really cool things. The old chairs from the pavilion have been auctioned off. Those were with us for many, many years, and a lot of folks picked those up in the auction. You can also donate now to put your name on one of the new chairs if you'd
Ah.
like. And there's bricks and other items that are similar to that for donation purposes. The Ravinia stage, the old stage, was made out of oak wood. And when we took that up, we saved that wood and turned it into a couple of different items, including tables and rings. And you can find these items on our website, ravinia.org, and they can be purchased. And you can have a piece of Ravinia with you forever.
I love it, and so many people have great stories, like a date that led to a marriage that might, where they might want to go back and get a piece of Ravinia where it all began, types of things. You mentioned donations, so on a final note, I think that we should end kind of talking about your education program, because we do get so excited about the festival, the lineup of artists for the summer, but you all have educational programs going year round.
Yes, absolutely. We are in many of the Chicagoland schools, including Chicago Public Schools, with music education programs. Ravinia Festival is a not-for-profit, and so our way of giving back is free instruments, free lessons. We've formed entire orchestras in some of these schools, and these students are practicing all year round. Some of them even get bused to Ravinia Festival after school each day to study with their teachers. And at the end of every school year, there's culminating concerts that happen throughout these schools and here at the festival. And that's the most heartwarming piece of what we do. We're really giving back through music education.
Absolutely. You could be training up the next Gladys Knight or the next member of Pearl Jam. Who knows what they'll call it by then. But we love to see the educational aspect of it year round, and we love the concerts in the summer. When is the first one for the summer lineup?
First concert is June 3rd. So we do have concerts in June. There are a couple of jazz performances. Terrence Blanchard and Robbie Coltrane are performing together. Kurt Elling is also that first weekend in June. And then in July, we really get started with the Chicago Symphony and opening up the pavilion. Speaking of music education, on July 11th in the pavilion with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Lizzo will be performing with them. Lizzo studied music education in both college and graduate work in flute performance, and she'll be making her Chicago Symphony Orchestra and Ravinia debut on July 11th.
Little known facts, but they are facts indeed. Lizzo is trained. Thank you so much for being here on the show. And like I said, we look forward to a great summer to come, but we appreciate all you all do to pour more music into our lives on a regular basis.
Fantastic. Come and see us this summer at Ravinia. Thank you so much for having me on.
Will do. Take care. It's 2:16, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back with our next conversation as we really start to dig into this weekend's events for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Before we even get to our next conversation, Perry, let's just take another live look outside right now at the wind, because I did get in an email about a wind advisory for I-65 travel. They're at current high winds, they say, have caused 2 semi-rollovers on I-65, southbound at mile marker 222. All lanes are closed there, and northbound at mile marker 238. There is a semi in the ditch there that is slowing travel there as well. So you want to avoid I-65 if possible, but be mindful that throughout the Chicagoland area, high wind is an issue today. We checked in earlier with Tia Ewing, who was in Niles, and you could see the damage there. You can see our camera going here just over, right over. This is our 2800 camera along Lakefront, and you can see that it's just going. We've had 60-mile-per-hour winds at some points today, so just be mindful of that. Regardless of what the weather does this weekend, and it will still be doing a lot, we know the people will be out and about doing a lot as well. And so we have to have safety top of mind in the midst of our fun. And that's where Stephen Rotolo, who is a senior vice president at PGS USA Security, comes into play. He has worked in many different facets in terms of security over the years, whether for police departments, the Port Authority in New York, and many others. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Anita. Thanks for having me.
Always appreciate being able to call on you for issues of security, and you know these things so well. So going into this weekend where there are so many events for St. Patrick's Day weekend, but also a war happening overseas, and incidents that are already starting to happen here on the homeland, where people have in Michigan outright said this was connected to what's going on overseas. What are your thoughts for people?
So first off, the Chicago Police Department is the nation's second largest police department. They're at the top of their game. Superintendent Snelling and his department are going to be doing everything they can this weekend to ensure the safety of everybody attending any kind of revelry, any kind of party, any kind of event, the parade. Nobody does it better than the Chicago Police Department. With that being said, mass gatherings are attractive targets for those wishing to cause harm and, to instill fear in the American public. So, like you said, there was 3 significant attacks in the last week.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the New York City mayor's home, those 2 young men, 18, 19 years old, that had IEDs. Thank goodness they did not explode, but they said that they wanted to do harm worse than the Boston Marathon bombing. I mean, so if that is some people's mentality right now, do you think? I mean, there will be some who question, like, should I be out in big crowds this weekend?
The famous quote, to live in fear is not to live at all. So, we want people to go out. Just know that between the federal, state, local, city governments, city police departments, they're doing their best to combat this. And, there's a lot going on behind the scenes you'll never see. But there's some things you should take into account when you are going out, when you're having a good time. Always be aware of your surroundings. If you're traveling with family or friends to an event, let's say you're going to the parade, have a plan if something did go sideways, where you would rendezvous, where you would meet up, to gather everybody back up, have a meeting point. I always stress, know your exits, know egress points whenever I teach active shooter or anything like that. Like, scan the area where you're at and just look at it and say, hey, if something went wrong, where would I go? Where would it be the safest place for me to run to hide from a potential attack? And another thing, this is St. Patrick's Day. Next to New Year's Eve, a lot of alcohol will be consumed. Alcohol affects your reaction time and your fine motor skills. Save the drinks for when you get home and you're safe. And, last week's attack at the bar in Austin is a sobering reminder of what could happen when you're out having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these different examples of things, again, that have happened recently that make people question safety, make people question security. But yeah, you don't want to let these things steal your joy moving forward in life. And so with all of the things that we have, you mentioned CPD, they have said that they don't have any, credible threats. The last update that we got from them was that they didn't have any credible threats at that moment. How do you think that they could possibly mobilize differently this weekend, though, given a heightened state of awareness to the events happening in the world right now?
Well, I'm sure you're going to see a heavy presence of CPD and federal authorities, especially along the parade routes. I was looking at the parade website. They're going to be doing bag checks, no coolers, no bottles, anything like that. There's a lot going on, but this is where police and the government need the support of the civilians. If you see something, say something. If something doesn't look right, it probably isn't right. So, the police aren't omnipresent. We can't be everywhere. So we do need the public's assistance in stopping this. And, like I said, don't be afraid to go out. The police department's doing everything they can to ensure you have a safe weekend. And as they are every single day, not just St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Sure, that's fair for certain. What types of things are you most concerned about? When we saw the attack at the Jewish temple yesterday, the synagogue yesterday, Temple Israel, one of the things that came up was like these people who would drive into a temple or a crowd or something like what types of incidents, if you go back to Austin, a lone wolf that walks up to a crowd, what are the types of incidents that have you most concerned right now?
So an active attack event doesn't necessarily have to be a gun, doesn't have to be a bomb. It could be an edged weapon. It could be a vehicle. Look back January 1st, 2025. The perpetrator drove a rented pickup truck down Bourbon Street in New Orleans and injured over 50 people, I believe killed between 8 and 15 people. So, a vehicle-borne attack could just be vehicle rammings, like the West Side Highway along the bike path in New York City. So there's many things you should be aware of. And that's, like I said, situational awareness is always important. And I always stress to people, when you're walking around a city with your AirPods in, you can't hear screams, you can't hear tires screeching, you can't hear shouting, you can't hear gunshots potentially if you have the noise canceling headphones in. So always be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. And do you feel like there is enough intel sharing between agencies right now about possible issues?
In a post 9/11 world, we, in the law enforcement world, really started sharing information better. Local state officials have people embedded in federal task force. So there's a lot of information sharing. But like you said, that lone wolf, the one in Michigan yesterday, he had family members that died in a bombing and blamed Israel. And that's what made him attack that synagogue yesterday. So, there was nothing that probably showed anybody that was going to happen beforehand.
Yeah. And those are the types of things that you rack your brain around about, but at the same time, what can we actually do anything about if someone is intent on something like that?
So perfect example. Yesterday, the shooting at Old Dominion University, the students, when it came time to fight, they tackled the armed assailant and did what they had to do to end the threat. So there's going to come a point where if you have to fight for your life, fight like you're fighting for your life. And that's a perfect example yesterday. They stopped the attack.
Yeah, and things can happen so quickly. Thank you so much for getting this, again, top of mind in terms of the things that we need to really be cognizant of going into a weekend with so many things happening. We certainly always appreciate being able to call on you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend and go out and enjoy yourself this weekend.
Certainly will, but we'll be safe. Take care. It's 2:28, everyone. We'll be back in 2 minutes. right, everybody, we're back at 2:31. We have given you the really important information about how to safely navigate things this weekend with the parades and the river dyeing happening. Now let's talk about some of the fun, okay? I want to get to Bill Zhang, the general manager of the Freedom Boat Club, who is out on one of the boats right now and will be definitely tomorrow when the river goes green. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for inviting me here. And yes, we're ready for tomorrow. It should be a good fun tomorrow.
It should be. Are you at all concerned about the weather?
Actually, it's actually turning okay because today's pretty windy today, as you know. But I think the sun comes out and we see the weather forecast tomorrow. Actually, it's when this comes down, it might be a little bit cloudy, but it's St. Patrick's Day. We experience that almost every year, so I'm not too worried about tomorrow.
Tell me about the Freedom Boat Club.
Sure. Freedom Boat Club actually is one of the probably easiest way for getting people access to on the water without owning a boat. We basically, you become a membership and then you join the club. We have 4 locations in Chicago, about 60 boats, and we have 400 locations around the globe. You can have reciprocal access to it. You just worry about maintenance or anything. We do everything. We take care of everything for you.
Sounds cool. Tell me, well, one, how did you get that name?
Oh, Freedom Boat Club?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so actually it started in 1989 in Florida. And I think at that time is the owner and then the funding group, they just, want people to freedom, using the water and then don't worry about owning a boat or different kind of sort of hassles sometimes on the boat. So things come from just, enjoying the water freedom. I think then it's just the business model expands and then go different places.
Yeah, a lot of people think boats, they think maintenance. It's like, I don't know if I can do all of that. So you all kind of cut that out so that people can just choose to have some fun. How fun is St. Patrick's Day weekend for you all?
Yeah, it is a great event, and then it's also one of our traditions into participating in this. Actually, Freedom Boat Club is one of the only boating organizations in Chicago. This is our 7th year participating in the event. We have 11 boats lined up. We have 300 people sign up for that.
Whoa. And
then we're just part of the whole Dying River activities, and also just for people enjoying the water. It's one of the, it's one of the very unique ways to experience St. Patrick's Day and then to experience Chicago in a very different angle. You'll be on the river, be whole center of that, and then you're seeing the water slowly turning green, and then you just feels that. So that's one of the best memories most of our members would have.
Yeah, certainly. And okay, so for people who are going to be with you all tomorrow, what time do they come out? What time do you all get off the water? And what's it like when you're on the water?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 slots going out tomorrow. The earliest is starting at 9:45. So we have all the people who are gonna get on the boat. We have the captains take folks out, and then we're just following in the big boat. And we're going to do the river dines, and then about 10 a.m. they were just dying the river, and we're just following them. And then we're cruising around the water, help the water kind of spreading the dines across the river, and then we come back around 10:30, and this is our first slot. Then we're going out again around noon times, and then we also have afternoon ones, and that is more just for people who are getting fun and getting the experiences that. And then when we're on the water, we're gonna hearing music. We're gonna talk to each other, waving to the hands to the folks on the bridges, just interacting with people. Yeah, it's a lot of kind of activities there, just be part of the whole celebrations.
Now, Bill, I have to ask you, Is this BYOB?
It is BYOB. Yeah, we don't provide kind of alcohols or drinks on our site. And absolutely, we have U.S. Coast Guard certified captains that drive the boats. And then, we're definitely not drinking anything alcohols, when we're driving the boats. Yeah, and then the guests were BYOB to have their own drinks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they've got the music going. It's BYOB. They're having a full-on party and enjoying just the revelry of the moment. And there are several different slots where people are going out. Let me ask you, I mean, you kind of gave me an update on your thoughts for the weather this year. This is the 7th year you all have done it. Has there ever been a time when the weather factored into whether you could or couldn't go out for this, or maybe having to do it a little differently?
I think that there's one year I heard from my colleague, because I wasn't there at the moment. But there's still like ice in the water.
Ooh.
And then we're trying to bring in the ice into it with the boats. Yeah, so it's kind of fun, crazy. But like that ones, I think like we didn't do the whole thing. Like we go out, experience a little bit, and then come back. But outside of that, actually, yeah, there's really no years like we have missed that. We usually just go out. And then every year the wind, like it's a little bit windy, sometimes sunny, sometimes a little bit cloudy. But actually, we take very careful reading the kind of weather forecast and everything. But as long as we think it's generally safe, go out there, or just go out there. Just this is like one of our biggest event, and then members really love to join that and happy with that. So yeah, we're trying our best to continue the traditions.
Yeah, and when you say one of you all's biggest events, why did you all decide to participate in this? And what keeps you all coming back?
Absolutely. So one of our locations sitting, which is currently right now, is Streeterville in Ogdensliff. It's literally in the kind of like heart of Chicago, between the river and then the lake. So right like in front of or kind of west of the lock. So just be part of there. We are part of a great kind of boating communities. We have our cruise lines. We have our water taxis, which are all kind of part of a huge kind of Chicago boating community. And then so as a part of that, once Freedom's in Chicago set up, I think about 10 years ago, and it was starting to be kind of brought into this discussion, and then part of this kind of group. And then we just become a tradition of that. One is also, I think this is like one of the biggest events, iconic events in the world, and we want to participate. And also second is this is also a unique way to celebration. We sort of kind of unofficial kind of spring starts in Chicago, and then unofficially kind of boating season starts in Chicago. So this is like one good ways to be part of.
That's exactly what I was getting at there, that this kind of like leads into the actual like boating season. When is the actual boating season for you all? When does that really kick off in earnest?
Yeah, generally it's like May, starting the May all the way end to October. But because of this, we have these unique locations on the river. We start a little bit earlier. For us, is like we start in mid of April. Our members can start to booking the boats and getting out, and then we also close a little bit later on the riverside, which is closed around like a mid-November.
Mm-hmm. And how does someone join you all?
Yes. So if you want to join, you just go out and to search freedomboatclub.com, and then you'll find all the informations where you what do you want to learn about, what boats we have, what locations we have, and then you basically just choose whatever closest to you or you're boating most out of, and then we'll take care of next.
Well, for the time periods that people are booking, I mean, is that like 2 hours out, 4 hours out, a full day? How do people, maybe book for a day on the river?
Yes, absolutely, great question. So the way how you become a member, and then generally the way is like you can book a half day or you can book the whole day. It depends what are your needs. And then the half day is basically you can do like, you know, sunrise all the way to noontime. And then for the afternoon ones, you can do like 1 p.m. all the way to sunset. So that's kind of our general booking. So it's a couple of hours. It's like, you know, usually it's enough for folks, you know, getting enjoyed on the water. And then also if you have like, you know, a traditional, like a day to celebrate, or you need more time, you can book the whole day. And then we have memberships to apply for that as well. And then we have a pretty cool app in both iOS system or Android. And you can just download the app, put all your information in, and then you can find whatever boat's available and book the boat, take the boat out.
Super cool stuff. And when you're, final question, or when you're booking, you are booking with that qualified captain, or is that additional?
No, that usually our model is to train people, drive your boat yourself. And then this is one of our mission is makes boating simple, and then also make people more comfortably drive the boat. So we have U.S. Coast Guard certified captains to train members. We have a different kind of training categories, from the most basic ones all the way to the advanced level, to teach you different styles of the boating and then different skills of the boating. So then you can be more comfortable to do that. And then when you know, at different levels, you can take the boats out, different type of boats out in certain different circumstances. But generally our members, I would say 100% of the time, they will kind of drive their boats themselves, and then, you know, take their guests on, and then have a better time, either, you know, enjoy the waterways on Lake Michigan, or just enjoy a private architecture tour themselves on the Chicago River.
Bill, this is super interesting stuff here. And what's your biggest boat? Like, how many people can it hold?
Yes, we're actually right now sitting in one of our biggest boats. It's 30 foot. It's called Navan. We can comfortably took like 12 people, you know, just on this boat, and it's also have a lower cabin. Yeah, and then we have all the boats, you know, different pontoons, tritontunes, bow riders, all the ways, you know, from about like 23, 24 foot all the way to 30 foot. So it's different varieties, and then you can just choose whatever you need.
Cool. Well, enjoy tomorrow. I know the folks that'll be coming out with you will be ready to have some fun. So we certainly hope that you all have a blast tomorrow there on the river for the River Dying. Bill Zhang, General Manager of the Freedom Boat Club, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having us. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Take care. Sounded really cool what they are able to do, and just gives us thoughts of spring. Thoughts of spring. We'll get there, everybody. But I know that so many people will have fun this weekend regardless of what the weather does. It's about 2:45, and we're going to take a quick 2-minute break before we get to our next conversation. We'll go from boats to flights after this. All right, 2:47 right now, everyone, and we got a bit of a shocker in the newsroom today that Southwest Airlines is going to discontinue service to O'Hare. I want to talk about it now with Joe Schwederman, who's a transportation expert and professor at DePaul University. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Great to be online, yes.
We were a little shocked by it. Were you taken aback by it because of your wealth of knowledge into what's going on at O'Hare?
I was surprised. And, O'Hare's been such a hotbed for competition. It's seen the fastest growth in the country, and American United just can't add enough flights and be, happy with market share. So there really is a competitive push at O'Hare. And Southwest has been somewhat waffling there. They cut back last year, but I thought they were going to go big, and obviously they're going to focus on Midway.
So let's talk a little bit about that. It does seem like they are restructuring, if you will, correct?
That's right. They got big pressure from Wall Street and famously, they eliminated a lot of the things that made them different. Free check bags, changing your ticket without losing your funds more freely, and of course the seating policy. And so they're a lot more like American United and Delta. And I think by doing that, when there's such a small player at O'Hare, there's fewer reasons to, gravitate towards Southwest if you're a person that liked those perks. So I think they just found that they were out-muscled by American United, and they were going to pack up and ship those flights to Midway.
So what do you think happens to their gates and their fans at O'Hare?
Well, it is a loss. And I think the reason I thought they would stay is there's so many Rapid Rewards members in Metro Chicago. A lot of people, myself included, really gravitate towards Southwest because of some things that still make them different. And we like Midway Airport. But having so many people in the region that are part of the frequent flyer program, I thought being at O'Hare just gave them a little more swagger, you might say, with those frequent flyers. And now we're seeing that they are going to expand at Midway. So about 3 weeks ago, they announced a big push there. But the reason we're interested in this is that terminals 1 through 3 are just so clogged at O'Hare now, with American United growing. And Terminal 5, we have some room out there, and we're going to have a little more after this.
Yeah. And American and United have been in a bit of a tussle. Is that fair to say, a tussle over the last several months?
Yeah, that's probably a very polite word. It's almost more like a battle, you might say. But, long story short, American and United both want to expand at O'Hare at the same time. And they're all jealously watching the number of gates they get. And there's some finger pointing that by American, the United is adding short hop flights just so when the next gate reallocation comes, they get more gates. And United is denying that. And so the FAA has stepped in and said, look, the airport just can't handle all this growth that's being planned this summer. And we're going to hear an announcement pretty soon whether they're going to force flight cuts. And that's not going to be fun.
That was exactly what I wanted to talk to you about next, was the Fed stepping into all of this as these companies have continued to announce more growth. And what do you think is about to happen?
It's we were scratching our heads thinking, while the airport maybe has enough gates to handle all these flights, one snowstorm or one rainstorm, we have some incidents that occur that could cause things to back up. And it could be like the bad old days at O'Hare with long tarmac waits for people to get gates and so forth. And so the FAA's come in and said, we have to have a summer schedule that's going to work because air traffic controller, there's a shortage there too. And we don't know how that's going to play out. So some of the things I'm hearing are not terribly optimistic that they may be forced to cut close to 15% of their flights this summer. And, Southwest may be saying, this is not going to be good for our flyers to have to live through that. We're going to, we're going to cut back.
So you think that Southwest leaving O'Hare, but adding to Midway, that do you think it's a sign that, like, hey, this company is in trouble, or that this restructuring will actually save them in the end?
Well, I do think they're getting a little bit of a bad rap that, yes, some people are unhappy with the seating policies and they say what we loved about Southwest is now gone. But it has allowed Southwest to be more aggressive, offering really low fares because now, those tickets are non-refundable and you don't get baggage with it. And so they're able to be more aggressive, offering really low fares by not having all these things that come with them free. And so I think Wall Street is pretty happy with how the restructuring is going. It was nice, though, to have an airline that was so refreshingly different than American United and Delta, that you could pick based on the different perks that they offer. And now that they're so similar, but it is great for our city that they're going to put their money in Midway. And what we thought was an airport that was going to struggle for a while is actually going to be a pretty hot airport, too.
And do you think that American and United are going to hold hands and kumbaya so that the feds kind of let off the gas on O'Hare?
Well, the rhetoric's been pretty sharp, or the accusations, I say, have been pretty sharp with, American, I think, rightfully concerned that they may lose more gates next year because United has grown so much so fast. And as they acclaim, some of the routes are these short hop routes like Chicago to South Bend and Grand Rapids, which beefs up the flight total there, they're alleging, which would, when the formula comes to give out gates, United's going to look good because they have many flights, but they claim those are not terribly useful flights for our region. United's denying that. And when you start seeing these comments in the media and so forth, it's time to get FAA saying, let's get everybody in a room here and figure out, make sure the customer doesn't lose in all this.
Absolutely. And what do you think it says about, or will say about O'Hare once the feds kind of weigh in on this?
Well, we're nervous about O'Hare because, the terminal plan, the exciting O'Hare 21 terminal plan, is moving ahead. And when we, in effect, tear down Terminal 2 to build this great global terminal, which we urgently need in our region because we're a great global airport and our terminals don't reflect that, where are those planes going to go during construction? And so the plan to build 2 satellites terminals so we'd have place for those airplanes during construction. We compromised only building 1. And so with all this growth, we just don't see how you can build this terminal without a lot of headaches for customers. So we're waiting for the city to announce something on that.
Okay, so I want worst case, best case before I let you go, just in terms of your level of concern about different things that are happening at our local airports. What's the thing that gives you the most hope, or the thing that you're most excited to see when it comes to our airports right now?
Well, it's really great. And we're one of the world's greatest transportation hubs, air, bus, and rail. And it's good to see that mojo is back. And 2 years ago, it wasn't so clear. I mean, everybody's flying to the Sun Belt. Post-pandemic, business traffic wasn't coming back. And now we're seeing that both American and United see a lot of money to be made at O'Hare. And they're putting their money, where their wallet is, you might say, or from their wallet, adding international flights. So that's been really gratifying. I think what's discouraging to us is that, cutting flights this summer, if we have to cut to 2,500 flights from 3,000 flights a day, that's a lot of cutting. And it could be that those airlines just add those flights to other hubs, Denver and Dallas and so forth, and don't come back because once the changes are made, they may not be able to undo them too quickly. It makes me nervous.
How do we as consumers, we as travelers navigate this, like with this kind of dangling out there that they may be cutting all of these flights this summer? If people are already starting to think about summer travel plans, what would you advise people to do?
Well, I can't imagine a more turbulent 2 weeks here that we have first these possible cuts at O'Hare, and now we throw on $100 barrel with the Iranian conflict, and it's just up in the air. Are the airline's going to have a good summer or a bad summer at O'Hare or in Chicago? We have no way of knowing with all this uncertainty. And plus, Spirit has cut back at O'Hare, and now with Southwest cutting back at O'Hare, some of that low-cost discipline that those airlines brought may no longer be there. and United American are great airlines and they're great value, but they have different ways of pricing than some of those other airlines. So we could see an uptick in fares at O'Hare, which wouldn't be good for our city.
All right. So we might need to bring you back on maybe once a week for a while. It sounds like. But thank you so much for always making time for us when we do call. We really appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Take care. Have a good weekend. It's 2:58, everyone. We'll be back in about 2 minutes, and I'll set you up for where we're going in our final hour here for the week on Chicago Live. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 3 o'clock, so let's talk a little bit about where we're going in this hour. Before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock news, some high points, some that are a little bit concerning right now. We do anticipate having a conversation about UChicago men's basketball. Super excited for them. This is a Division III program that is on fire this year. So we are going to talk with their head men's basketball coach about how things are going and chasing after their first ever NCAA championship in men's basketball. It is an exciting time for UChicago indeed. And so we look forward to having that conversation with them. Of course, we also look to have a conversation maybe around 3:30 or so with meteorologist Mark Strell, as we have had high winds today that have created some damage in a lot of different areas. When we have been taking different live looks outside in our areas, all of our cameras are just shaking all over the place. We've had some 60 mile per hour. This is the 2800 camera there on Lakeshore Drive, and you can see what we have seen all day. So we've had 60, near 70 mile per hour winds in some areas. We have had some reports of areas that have been shut off to semis or high profile vehicles today, and other areas that have actually had 2 semis that have rolled over today on I-65 as a result of the high winds. We had our Tia Ewing out in Niles, and you could see there was extensive roof damage to one of the schools there. They're not even sure if they're going to be back in that building on Monday. So we've had a lot of wind damage today in a lot of areas, and of course we've got to talk about what's blowing in after it. So meteorologist Mark Strell will come up and get us up to date on the things that are to come after what a crazy week it has already been in terms of your weather outside. We also look in maybe about 10 to 15 minutes or so. We're hoping that Alderman Timmy Knudsen will be joining me. He has launched his 2nd annual Drink Safe Spend Local campaign for St. Patrick's Day. We've covered several different angles of the St. Patrick's Day weekend that will be this weekend. We know there's going to be so many things happening. So first and foremost, we wanted to cover safety, right? There are so many things that are happening across the country, across the world. And so we want people to be mindful of, even if you're out having fun, we want you to be safe. There are a ton of events. We want people to go out, have fun, live, enjoy, but have safety top of mind. Then we talked to the general manager from the Freedom Boat Club, one of the clubs that will be out on the river this weekend for the river dyeing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And he kind of talked about the joy that comes into their members getting out on the river each year, regardless of what the weather does. And he even mentioned one time having to go into the river when there was still ice in it, so they might not see that, but might get a little snow. Again, that's conversation for Mark Strell a little later on. But just about the joy that comes with everybody being out and having that fun. Now, one of the things that has come across in each one of those conversations is the fact that, yes, people, while they are out enjoying, do typically have a beverage or 2. And so we want to make sure that people, 1, do not get behind the wheel this weekend, and that 2, you have a plan. Safety isn't just watching for the things that other people do, or may do, but it's also making sure that you have a plan. If you are going to be out enjoying yourself, that you have a plan to make sure at the end of the day you make it home safely. So hopefully around 3:15 or so, we'll be talking to him, Alderman Knudsen, about his Drink Safe Spend Local campaign and the effects of it that he's already seen in years past, or in the year past, and why he decided to bring it back for another year. Now, a couple of more concerning things here. Let's go ahead and get to one of our live pictures. I believe we have one in LA. Yes, okay, this is LA. With breaking news that's happening at the moment. We do not have much information about what's going on here, but you can already tell this is a very serious situation there, and these officers are outside of a school. Okay, we have seen officers with their guns drawn at times, going up to doors. We don't exactly know full details about what is going on inside of that school. And we have been trying to get more information about the possibility of someone with a weapon inside of the school, but we don't know exactly what has taken place thus far. Obviously, a call for great concern there. Again, this is in Los Angeles. Does look like now the officers are taking a different approach, going from a different angle than we saw them earlier. Looks like they're going down to a door that may be on the bottom level there. Earlier they were trying to get into a door where the steps are. So you can see one of the things that many crews that are in helicopters will try to do is to make sure that at moments things might get a little more positional, that they back out of that so that they're not giving everything away. You can see here making room for LAPD's helicopter to get out there, to go around and to help those officers to make sure they make it home safe at the end of the day, as well as anyone who may be in danger there. Again, we just don't have much information about what's happening there at the moment, but clearly a call for concern there at this Roman High School in Los Angeles, where you're seeing a large police presence right now. And the LAPD helicopter that is going around the school, as we saw officers take a different position to try to get in the school right now. We do not know, and we have not seen any students brought out of that school. Just taking a moment to again look. It looks again like these teams of officers are all going to the lower level to try to get inside. And I'm not sure if they've had any success from any of the angles getting inside just yet. And that's about the fourth, maybe, team that I've watched try to get in from a different vantage point. I don't know that any of them have made it inside of that high school yet. So I'm just kind of trying to pull up what our sister station in Los Angeles, what they might have about this particular incident. And doesn't look like they have much information posted again yet at this point in time. But you can see here, there is some crime scene tape up right in front of the school. So it looks like they are cordoning off that area to make sure that people are not traveling in that area. Again, we saw from 2 other vantage points just in this time that we've been watching, officers make attempts to get in the school. Not sure that any have been successful yet. Still trying there. So as we get in some new information again about what is happening there in Los Angeles, again, there at the Roman High School. Perry, have you seen any extra information? Yeah, no new information as of right now about what's happening there at the school, which is certainly a concerning situation, especially coming the day after what we saw in Michigan at the Temple Israel that also houses a school. To see this type of situation on any given day, honestly, is very concerning. But just especially right now where everyone kind of has a heightened sense of awareness and honestly fear, to see that happening at a high school is very disconcerting. So as soon as I get some new information about that, I will pass that along to you. We just don't have much information right now as to what has taken place there at that high school. In fact, let's go ahead and just get in a 2-minute break here. I'm going to look for some more information. If I see anything, when we get back from that break, I'll deliver that to you. Okay, everyone, we're back at about 3:12 right now, and we do have a little bit of additional information. So we're going to take you back to the live pictures there in Los Angeles. So this is Los Angeles High School. This is Los Angeles High School, where we see this heightened presence of police in this area. The school was placed on lockdown following a report of an armed person near the campus. Officers responded here, and they have said that someone received a threat about possibly two men armed with guns on or near the school, but it's not clear if a suspect was seen actually on the campus. So they have been going around, many of the officers going around the campus just to make sure everything is clear. As of right now, we have no details about anyone being hurt or even the fact that they have made contact with an actual armed individual. So again, this is at Los Angeles High School, where we have been watching these pictures of a ramped up police presence in the area, the helicopter up above as well. And so no information that anyone is hurt, nor that anyone is actually in danger, but there was a call that solicited this response that they have here. If that information changes, I will let you know. But let's come back here at home and talk a little bit about what's going to be going on this weekend. And again, there are many different facets of safety that we want to cover here as we get into a weekend where so many people are going to be out and about. I have Alderman Timmy Knudsen with me right now as he launches his second annual Drink Safe Spin local campaign for St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for your time.
Oh, I'm so glad to be on and talking about this.
Absolutely. What made you want to bring it back for a second year?
Yeah, so it was such a hit last year when we started the Drink Safe Spend Local campaign. And really what we're leaning into is that there's so many people in Chicago who, after the river has died, they celebrate in the 43rd Ward community, the lakefront, Lincoln Park and Gold Coast community. So I want to make sure that the people who come up can get around safely. We understand that they're drinking, so we're advocating for them to tip their bartenders and service members, and then to really get home safe and responsibly.
Yeah, and I mean, having that plan in advance is super important.
Yes, so what we're doing is we are providing lift credits, and it's been a huge success. We actually released a credit on social media a few days ago, and within hours, all the credits, and it's a few $1,000s, so it's not nothing, were taken. So what we've done is we've launched a new credit to make sure that everyone who's going to be celebrating in the ward gets a chance to get that free ride home.
Tell me how that's kind of changed the game in the last few years.
Yeah, we know people are getting around the ward. It's a dense area in many different ways. What I love about the lift credits is they also can be used for scooters and bikes, right? A lot of people prefer micro mobility. And it's made it easy through tech to get these possible safe, this benefit that's going to lead to safety directly to people, which we're really excited about. We're really proud of the business community we have in the ward. We have a very diverse, dynamic business community, and I'm hoping people are out there and supporting them.
Yeah, and how do you make the funds, how do you make these lift credits possible?
Yeah, let's be clear on that. These are political funds. These are not government dollars, which I would hope everyone would understand that these are separate, independently raised dollars that I know go towards a stronger community. We in the 43rd Ward have a young community too. There's a strong community of renters, people under 35, and I try to bring them into everything we do politically because often they're a forgotten group for people. And, as a member of that age group myself, I think it's about time that there's a focus on, their events as well.
And when you talk about supporting local businesses, I think the last time we spoke, you were doing a partnership with Wiener Circle during football season. I mean, why is it so important to support these businesses right now, especially?
Yeah, these small businesses are the fabric of all of our communities, and it's hard for them to stay open, right? Most of our favorite, whether it's a cafe, a restaurant, a bookstore, they're not working for massive profits, yet they're within kind of the fabric and culture of where we live. So a favorite part of this job that I really enjoy is highlighting them. I love to highlight, the different things you can do within the ward. Wiener Circle is one we partner with all the time because they're always doing things that draw people in, and that increase culture within the city. So that's a favorite part of this job, being alderman for me. And as always, we try to lead a bit differently from the 43rd Ward. So I'd be so happy if I saw some of my colleagues do some promos like this as well.
What is most concerning to you about this weekend with so many people being out and about?
Yeah, Chicago does large gatherings well. We just do. So luckily, when it comes to the river dyeing, which would be a large task for many cities, our law enforcement knows how to handle that. Our downtown logistics know how to handle that. So I'm not concerned. These events are safe events. I think the length of the day, and St. Patrick's being historically and culturally sometimes known as a drinking holiday, that can be concerning, right? We want to make sure that people are, when they're drinking, they're being responsible. They're watching out for their friends. And this is just one day we know, because we see it. We see the numbers that people might, need that extra nudge to get home safely. To urge their friend to get home safely. In Chicago, we all take care of each other, and this is just really a promo to talk about that and help increase that.
Absolutely. What gets you most excited about St. Patrick's Day weekend?
I love seeing that river green, and then I love just taking a walk through the 43rd Ward, and we have a lot to be proud of when it comes to our business community. A lot of hardworking owners have made our pandemic recovery, I would say, one of the strongest in the city. We have retail corridors that post-pandemic were 50% empty, and now they're 95% full. And that is a community effort. And you take a lot of pride in that on a day like this.
All right. If someone's listening and they don't really know, the borders of your ward, the 43rd Ward, tell us about how that is configured.
Yep, the 43rd Ward is lakefront Lincoln Park in the Gold Coast. So if you think of everything south of Diversey and then really north of Division on the lakefront, because that lakefront is so big and we have the park of Lincoln Park, I always say that, the 43rd Ward is for everyone in Chicago. We're very connected by transit. Come visit us. Transit, of course, is a great way to get home if you can find that right route. And while you're out there, check out some of our museums. I mean, the Lincoln Park Zoo will be open on Saturday. If we get some sun, you can always walk the lakefront. I'm out on the lakefront sometimes without sun and 0 degrees, and there's still people out there. So it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, if I ever look out at the lakefront and no one is out there, the temperature has really taken a dip.
Exactly.
All right, Alderman Knutson, we always appreciate having you on the show. Let us know when you need to come back, okay?
Thank you for having me on, and everyone celebrate safely.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. Enjoy.
You too. Bye.
All right. 3:20 right now, everyone, and boy, will the streets be full this weekend. And that is just the most important thing, is just to celebrate safely. But there's a ton of ways that you can celebrate, no doubt. It's 3:20. Let's take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. right, just about 3:23 right now, and University of Chicago is chasing its first ever NCAA championship in men's basketball. It's an exciting time, and we love to see it. Mike McGrath, the head men's basketball coach, is joining me now. Congratulations on all the success just to get to this point.
Thanks. It's great to share the fun we've had with you and with your listeners and viewers, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Tell me about your recollection of the season. I mean, when you look back on the season getting to this point, what were your highs? What were your I don't know.
Well, we every athletic season is filled with highs and lows, and most of the highs are wins and most of the lows are losses. It's pretty clear when that happens. But we entered into this season with lofty expectations. We had a really good returning team. We added some really nice players to that group. And we're anticipating being very, very successful. We were a preseason top 5 team in the country, and we've ended up there, and we're very proud of that. But it took a lot of work to be there, and I'm just really proud, and I enjoy going to practice and being in the gym every day with the guys on our team. They're amazing young men, and they enjoy one another. They enjoy playing the game, and they're a lot of fun to support.
And I'm sure they benefit so much from your passion for the game. Now that you're here, tell me about the expectation. Tell me about how the work shifts at this point in time in the season.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And the year is very cyclical. You kind of go through all these different phases. And, what we've done throughout the entire year is we haven't shied away from the fact that we have very high goals. We started the year wanting to compete for a national championship, and that's still part of what we're trying to do. And we've not been afraid of talking about that. We've not been afraid of having that out there. It's a dream of ours, and we're working every day to try to make that a reality. And what you have to do as you go through that cycle is sometimes you have to, we say, zoom out and remember these big things that you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes you have to kind of narrow in your zoom and focus on what's right in front of you. And it's cliche, but when you get into the NCAA tournament, every game, every possession, every half, every practice, there's just an intensity to it that matters so much. And we're trying to zoom right in right now on what's in front of us. And you go through those ebbs and flows throughout the year, and hopefully you get to a place now where you have a really connected group of guys who know what their goals are and are focused on how to achieve that.
Yeah, so what is in front of you? What comes next now?
So we have a game on Saturday. We're in the final 16 of the NCAA tournament. We host a game on Saturday at the Ratner Center on campus at 4 o'clock against a school from Minnesota named Gustavus Adolphus, who's also a top 10 team in the country. While, listening to Alderman Knudsen, I'm my name's Michael Patrick McGrath, and I've enjoyed many a St. Patrick's Day in Chicago and been part of many a St. Patrick's Day celebration. And I'm just going to delay this one a little bit to after our game. And if some people want to delay theirs till the evening and come down and watch the game, we'd love to have you here. It's really good basketball. It's really good kids. And so we've got that game on Saturday. And hopefully afterwards, a few of us will be doing a little jig somewhere that night.
I love it. I love it. And, as you're getting ready for this particular competitor, you mentioned, their standing. What are you focusing on for this particular team?
Yeah, they're a really good shooting team. I think, going into our scouting, I thought we're a pretty good offensive team, and I think we defend pretty well, but they can get going, and we need to really focus on narrowing their opportunities there. But more than anything, the pressure that you can feel this time of year with the tournament, these are young men who for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, they've invested their entire lives in some ways into being college basketball players and trying to win a national championship. That's so prominent for them. And so when you take that investment, that emotional investment, that time investment that these players have made, and you combine it with, being in the round of 16 of the NCAA tournament and there can be some anxiety that goes along with that. And what you have to do more than anything is you just have to stick together. You're going to have bad things happen during the game. The other team's going to make some great plays. And we just have to persevere that and stick together and fight and make some plays ourselves.
Yeah.
And composure is just such an important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. If they're looking at scouting and they're getting ready for you all, what do you think they're pointing out? What do you think that you all have to shore up to have success in this game?
Yeah, I think they're. My guess is we're bigger than they are, and my guess is that's probably something that they're trying to figure out how to combat. And I think they're probably going into the game trying to think about how to use their skill level and their speed and some things like that to attack us. So how we control the play and the execution and those kind of things, it will be kind of significant, I think, to how the game goes. But more than anything, they're probably looking at a group of guys. We have 4 seniors that start. Two of them were actually all 4 of them are all conference players. They've been really good players for 4 years, and I'd like to think they're pretty nervous about trying to guard Shane and Nick and Joe and Eamon and what they bring to the table, because I think they're really good basketball players.
And I would really like to know your thoughts as a head coach in college about the transfer portal and how much of a difference you feel like that's made in the game.
Well, I heard an interesting quote at one point. The transfer portal by itself is something that college basketball probably could have adjusted to. Players getting paid is probably something that college basketball could have adjusted to. And then coming out of COVID, when everybody had additional eligibility, you see all these lawsuits about extra years of being able to play. Mm-hmm. We probably could have survived that, but all 3 of those things hit at once. And it really impacted college basketball in a significant way and quickly. And I'm not sure I'm not sure anybody could have managed that evolution as fast as it hit. So to me, if you look at college basketball at a certain level, it's not the college basketball that I grew up in falling in love with. It's a different sport. It's evolved. The teams are different. They're made up of guys for different amounts of time, and people are transferring and they're getting paid. And at the University of Chicago, that's not the situation for us. Our guys are here for 4 years for the most part. They come to this school. They stay here for 4 years. It's where they want to be. They love the University of Chicago. They love going to school here. They love being part of our basketball program. They love, more than anything, they love their teammates. And that's what drew me to want to be a college basketball coach. And you can still find that. And not that there's anything wrong with what's changed with the transfer portal and people kind of, moving places because there's a better opportunity for them. That's part of the American way. But the guys here find this is their home. They don't think something's better. They think this is great, and they're completely invested in what we're doing. And so there's almost kind of these 2 worlds of college basketball that are out there. And there's some that are always going to want this other product and appreciate it. But if you're somebody who really wants the kind of basketball that I'm describing and supporting really good basketball players who kind of play it a certain way and with a certain passion and a certain love for one another, that's what we bring to the table, and we think it's pretty special. Yeah,
do you think you're looking over your shoulder a little bit more so that other schools, bigger schools, aren't trying to poach them?
Yeah, actually not. And it's part of, I think, the University of Chicago is a special place. I mean, the campus, the community that we're in Hyde Park, the education that our players are getting, which is as good as there is in the country, and a really high-level basketball program with great people. That's what drew these prospective students and athletes to our basketball program and to the University of Chicago. And they found what they're looking for. They're having the experience that they wanted. They had opportunities maybe at bigger places, and they chose us, and they love it. They're having a great. So honestly, I don't worry about that too much. I think they found a place where they can thrive, and they're thriving. And, I don't think they think there's a better situation out there for them for the most part.
Okay, well, what is the atmosphere like on campus right now with your team being so hot?
It's the energy level's high for sure. Unfortunately, we just started spring break on Friday. So we're hosting this game in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament, and our students are in Mexico and Florida, and a lot of them aren't around. But our campus community is made up of our students, obviously, but we also have all the campus employees, the faculty, and the staff, and people at the hospital, and then they're very supportive of our basketball program. And then you have the Hyde Park community. And then to some degree, our alumni who are spread across the city and across the country, those people are going to kind of fill the void. But that entire group of people who surround the University of Chicago basketball program, they're really excited right now. And I should add, it's not just us. Our women's team is playing in the Sweet 16 tonight at 5:30. And so on campus, they have a great team, and they're a great collection of young women, and I'm excited to flip on that game later tonight and watch them. Our teams are very close. We travel together. We took a 2-week trip to China in the fall together. So I'm their biggest fan, and they have a lot of fans on campus. We have a lot of fans on campus, and they're excited. Winning is fun, and it gets the energy level up for sure, and you can feel it. You can feel it.
Winning is fun. That is that. At the end of the day, that's it. I mean, winning is fun.
Yeah.
Coach McGrath, how long have you been with the program?
I've lost track over time, but I think this is my 34th year. I started here as actually a volunteer assistant coach.
Wow.
I graduated from college, and I worked here for free and was a high school librarian, and then eventually became the full-time assistant coach, and then eventually became the head coach. And I found a home. I'm from Chicago. My wife's from Wisconsin. We're near our family. I love this university and what it's all about. I love the basketball program and what it's all about. We can be really successful. And I work with great kids. They're amazing. And our former players are really intimately involved in our program and stayed involved over time. And that whole package, honestly, I don't think I could find somewhere else. So I found a home and recognized it was the right fit for me. And just like those players that I don't think there's something better out there for them, I don't think there's something better out there for me either.
Well, what a slam dunk you are for the program. Thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck. We are rooting for you all on your game on Saturday and hope that there are many, many more games to come.
Thanks, Anita. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Take care. And shout out to the ladies playing tonight. Hope that they win as well.
Go Maroons. Here we go.
All right. 3:36, everyone. Let's take a quick break. 2 minutes, and meteorologist Mike Stroud just walked in. Let's get an update on this weather out there. right, welcome back, everyone. 3:38. Mark Strell is here. We have had warm conditions this week, cold conditions this week, rain, tornadoes, hail. Where do we go from here?
Windy conditions.
Windy conditions today.
Winds today gusting over 63 miles per hour. So crazy winds today.
Yeah.
Winds will slowly slacken. They'll slowly die down as we go through the rest of the evening, the overnight hours. We are under a wind warning, high wind warning, for about another 22 minutes or so. And then that warning gets taken down. But we still will have some high winds until overnight tonight. Tomorrow, we're dyeing the river green. Could see a little white fall out of the skies tomorrow morning. Could be a little dust up of some light snowfall. And then during the afternoon, could be some rainfall. Now on Sunday, tomorrow's going to be in the 40s. Sundays, we're going to hit 60s. We're going to hit the 60s on Sunday. There could be some showers and thunderstorms. Winds return Sunday night. Sunday night, there will also be some snow. Sunday night into Monday, there could be some impactful.
After the 60s?
After the 60s, we come tumbling down, some snowfall overnight and into early Monday morning. Monday night into Tuesday, overnight low temperatures down to around 10. The wind chills could be 15 degrees below zero. Within the next 10 days, we should be back in the 60s and 70s. So hold on to your whatever you hold on to, because we are in March and we are currently in the midst of a wild ride.
This is the real madness, the weather.
Right.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth, right?
This is the real madness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, and how is this all happening? I mean, you mentioned the warning, the wind advisory that we've had today as we look at this camera from the 2800.
Look at it shake.
Yeah.
That camera is bolted down. It's shaking.
And it's been like that. It was so loud this morning.
Yeah. Well, when you have 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds, I mean, it's gonna roar. Now, look at this. There's the break wall. That's always a good indication of how windy it is. But notice the waves are not all that big crashing in there. That's because the winds are coming out of the west. So they're pulling offshore out towards the lake. If you go over to Michigan right now, you'd see some pretty high rollers, maybe some 6-7 foot high waves crashing in. But our side is being pulled out to sea, as it were.
Very interesting. How is all of this happening? Like, what's going on in the atmosphere for all of these different things
Right
that are
now,
going on?
we've got a giant low pressure area. It's just up to our north. That giant low pressure, think of it as a big divot. Think of it as a big hole. And we have a giant high pressure system off to the west. Think of that as a mountain. So that mountain is trying to flow down into the hole. And the deeper that low, the deeper that hole is, and the higher that high is, the more energy there is to put a squeeze on the atmosphere. And that's what's going on this afternoon. We've got a very deep low and a very high high, and the atmosphere is trying to equalize itself. It's trying to get back into equilibrium. And by doing so, it does so by high winds rushing into that low.
And that's just kind of the pattern we're in right now?
That's exactly what is going on today. In terms of long-term pattern, this is more of a short-term setup. But it is in March. We are now in a time period where, the seasons are kind of fighting back and forth. That's why spring has some violent weather. That's why we have supercell tornadoes the other day, because we have warm temperatures down to the south and cold temperatures up to the north, and they're not mixing very well. And that typically happens in the collar seasons, especially the spring.
And you all have already, the meteorologists turned the page to spring at the top of the calendar month.
Yeah.
For the rest of us, not so scientific folks, I think it's like March 20th?
20th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because you're Gregorian. You're a Gregorian. You go by the Gregorian calendar. Yeah, right? us meteorologists, we're simpler folk.
Yeah.
So we just go by 3-month periods, June, July, and August, that's what we call summer,
Yeah. So we've had, we've turned the page with spring, or the the time change last weekend, getting ready for the Gregorian change into
the Gregorians.
spring.
No, sure.
This upcoming
Who are the
week.
Gregorians anyway, right? Yeah, I've never met one.
Listen, we're dealing with St. Patrick's this weekend. You know, that's who we're focused on right now, one at a time. And and so we've got all of these different things happening. It has really been fascinating. I mean, for you all, it has been a truly busy week.
Oh, it has. I mean, especially with these incredible storms we had earlier this week, and with the ups and downs, the temperature swings, and the high winds today. I mean, it is never a dull time to forecast weather in Chicago.
Yeah, we usually say that about sports, but really for the weather as well.
right.
You know, that there's just never a dull time.
Sports and weather together. I mean, you know, that's why you tune in. Besides seeing this lady right here, right?
You know, when we go into next week, I think the hard thing too is that, like, on Monday we had, did we set a record on Monday for heat?
I believe we did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Monday you're like, oh,
Yeah.
coats off, put them away. Well, maybe don't put them too far away.
No.
And this week you've battled, as you were saying, that these seasons are battling. You go back and forth, like, big coat, small coat. Do I need a coat? Yeah, I need a coat. Get the big coat again. I mean, we're just kind of all over the place.
Doing a radio show earlier today, talking to the host. He said he got in his car, and he, I think, had a big puffy coat on, drove inside his car around town for about a half an hour, got back out, and it was 12 degrees warmer, walked around, put the coat in the trunk, got in his car, drove around for another half hour, same location basically, and then got out of his car, and it was, 15 degrees colder. So, if you're right on that razor's edge of the front, you're going to experience life in all directions.
Yeah, and for people who are out at the parades this weekend, let's talk specifically about those before I let you go. So we have the River Dying and the parade tomorrow. First half of the day.
Be prepared for snow. Second half of the day, be prepared for rain. Be prepared for breezy conditions all day long. On Sunday, be prepared for 60s. But by Sunday night, be prepared for snow and high winds again. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We're hearing our producer, what in the background,
Seriously.
if you can't pick that up.
We should just keep that and plug it into the weathercast
Right.
every single time we change.
Woo, buddy. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for at least getting us up to date on what's going on out there. The wild ride continues, as
It
you
does.
said. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's take a 2-minute break, everyone, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:50 right now, and I want to point your attention to a couple of things that we are following. Let's go to the stock market first and foremost and just see how the week ended. And you can see not the worst of times, not the best of times, right? We have certainly seen much worse than this throughout the week. The week has been very volatile for the stock market, and so as you can see here, really a mixed picture throughout the day, starting off in the green, ending there in the red, and seeing a bit of both really throughout the day, some swings throughout the day, but ending for the Dow Jones down almost 120 points there. Let's see, the NASDAQ composite declined 0.93%. The S&P 500 fell. Let's see. Since oil prices have extended their gains, investors are waiting for further developments, of course, with the war in Iran. That has weighed heavily on what we've been seeing throughout the week here. There was a recent rally for oil prices. This morning we even spoke with heard from some of the farmers, and those who represent farmers, even from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, a program there that works with farmers on a regular basis. And they talked about the cost of fertilizer and also the cost of oil, obviously, especially like diesel fuel that they have to use for many of their large equipment, and just how expensive that is right now. And so you would assume that, when prices spike there, that would be a part of what we're seeing here too. We did hear from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth today. There's been an ongoing discussion as to the oil prices, in large part, have to do with what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, or maybe what's not going on in the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, about 20% of the world's oil supply typically goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So even though the U.S. may have quite a bit of independence where oil is concerned, where energy is concerned, when you have 20% of the world's oil that goes through one particular strait there in the Middle East, and if maybe, let's say, 80 ships get through there a day, and now we're down to just a few per day, that is concerning, and that causes that instability in the market that we've been seeing. And so we've seen a lot of fluctuation here throughout the week. But Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, says that he's kind of dismissing the passageways closure, and says that we have been dealing with it, don't need to worry about it. Those were his words directly. We have been dealing with it and don't need to worry about it. The new leader, the new supreme leader in Iran, has already gone on the record, his very first statement since he was chosen as the supreme leader following the death of his father at the hands of the U.S. and Israel, and the strikes that have been taking place. His very first statement to the public was that they intend to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. So there was a question throughout the week as to whether there may be some military assets used to try to guide more ships through the Strait of Hormuz, again, to lessen up some of this pressure. Some people have even called it a pressure campaign, a direct pressure campaign on behalf of the Iranian leaders to keep these oil prices high, so that there's more people really pleading for the U.S. government, the Israeli government, to do something different to lessen up that pressure on the oil prices. So again, Secretary Hegseth says we've been dealing with it, don't need to worry about it. We heard from the Energy Secretary earlier this week, and he said that there have been talks about the possibility of Navy guides through the Strait of Hormuz, but no set plan of action that will actually happen. There were some rumors that it had already happened. They quickly took that back. But there have been talks about that. He says we're not in a position to do that just yet because of the other things that are taking place in this particular action with the operation that's happening in the Middle East right now. So overall, some of the investors are saying that earnings have been pretty good, but the sentiment is difficult because the oil part of the sentiment and the equity valuation embeds an interest rate path, which is now being questioned. That is the overall outlook as we go into the weekend that have prompted investors to dampen their expectations for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. And that's a whole other aspect of this as well, as they get ready for another meeting that should be happening in the next couple of weeks here. So there's so many different aspects. You know, you have one conflict that has geopolitical interests, and these are many of the different ways that we're seeing impacts. The market has been unstable all week, closed down. Who knows where we'll be by Monday? But this was the picture as we closed the week. All right, it's just about 3:56 here. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back to wrap things up for the week. All right, welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for being here yet again for another week here on Chicago Live. We always appreciate having you here, and boy, what a week it has been. So we thank you for staying with us through extended coverage. We've had some highs. We have certainly had some lows, especially for the poor folks there in Michigan yesterday that had such a shocking turn of events there at the Temple Israel right in the middle of the day. We're continuing to follow new developments with that situation there. And I know another big talker that will be coming up on the news at 4 will be the weather outside here in our area as we go into a very busy weekend where people will be out and about. On that note, we want to make sure that everybody gets out, has some fun. Do it safely, everyone, and we hope to see you back here at 1 o'clock on Monday. Take care.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Right now at 4, controversy as the White House compares